Empire. Early August, and golf's first major is the PGA Championship. They're teeing off, and so are we on the debut episode of the OddsUSA.com betting podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein. As of a couple days ago, Brooks Koepka was dominating the betting handle at BetMGM, 14% for the two-time defending champ. History says that is a terrible play. Only 5 golfers have ever won this title 3 times in their careers, and only one has ever done it 3 times in a row. And it ain't Tiger, who, by the way, was hovering around the plus 4,000 zone if you think he's got some magic in him this weekend. We'll end this debut with a few picks from Harding Park, but let's talk with our first guest. Let's welcome in Cam McCann from OddsUSA.com. So, Cam, I just went through this whole soliloquy about the PGA Championship and said, don't touch Brooks Koepka because history says almost no one in history wins this event 3 years in a row, let alone any golf tournament 3 years in a row. But I think you like him a little bit today and this weekend, right?
Yeah, Brooks, I don't know. He's a different animal when it comes to majors, and he's shown it over the last 4 years. Like you said, he's going for his 3rd straight PGA Championship. But other than that, he is beating players by an absolute landslide. He is 76 under par, and the next closest in the last 5 majors is Jordan Spieth at 25 under par, which is absolutely ridiculous. In his last 5 majors, he's at least finished top 4, so I don't see any reason to fade him here. I don't like the price that much at plus 1,000. Before, like last week, he was plus 3,000, so I like that a lot more, and he was also plus 17,000 before he finished 2nd. So,
look, we're not supposed to look at history, but Walter Hagen's the only person to ever do this. So there's just this part of me that goes, this last time this happened was like around the last pandemic. And I like, well, I mean, how can I actually really feel? I get it with all the stats with him, and I think he's awesome, but I just, the history tells me I can't touch this guy. Yeah.
Well, what I was looking at is he's getting on his best putting green here. He lost. Or on Bentgrass, he gains 0.42 more strokes than his average, which is ridiculous. If he gets his putter going, I think he'll win. Last week, he lost strokes putting, and he still finished 2nd, which is absolutely ridiculous. He had, 8.4 strokes gained in approach, 1.7 gained around the green, 0.8 off the tee, and minus 2.7 putting. If you're losing minus 2.7 strokes putting and you're still finishing 2nd in the tournament, you are doing something right.
You got that right. All right. Who else do you like in the PGA Championship? What else are you looking at?
I'm going down the board here a bit. I'm looking at Abraham Answer at plus 6,000. I think it's a great number for him. He's been finishing top 20 in 4 of 5 events since the restart. He finished 16th last year at the PGA Championship. And he consistently gains strokes off the tee and in approach, which is exactly what you need at a course like this. I really like the value we're getting here. I think he's a big game player, and plus 6,000 is just a great number for him.
Yeah, it is a great number. You got some props too, head-to-head. You like somebody in head-to-head today?
Yeah. This is more of a fade of Sungjae than it's a play of Louis. There is something wrong with Sungjae right now. In his young career, he's averaged strokes gained in every department. And since the restart, he's only gained in 1 of 7 tournaments. So I'm completely fading him. Louis, he found some form last week. He finished 6th. He was striking the ball well. He gained 2.8 strokes off the tee and 2.1 in approach. He's never missed the cut of the PGA Championship.
Yeah.
And in 5 of 6 appearances, he's finished in the top 30. He finished 2nd here in 2017. So I really like Louis to beat Sungjae. I don't even know if Sungjae is going to make the cut this weekend.
And Louis, I mean, this is a good decade running. He's a big tournament player, and he always
is a major. He shows up.
Yeah, he is always there. So I agree with you. I think it's the right play here. All right, let's get into the NHL here a little bit. So the unders are gone crazy here, and I don't know if that's just we're starting up. And it's hard to know. I mean, it's been so long since these guys have played together. What's your sense so far of why the scoring's been down?
It could be a variety of reasons. I mean, we've never played playoff hockey in August before. The ice could be in terrible condition. I know they're state-of-the-art facilities, but still, There's been problems in June when it gets too hot. So who knows what the ice is like? The players are obviously out of shape. Playoff hockey is a different sport than regular season hockey. It slows down. There's more hitting. There's less penalties called. So that leads to lower scoring games. Another interesting point I saw is that with the end, goalies are tracking the puck better.
Huh.
Without all the distractions in the background, without all the fans, they have a little bit of an easier time to see the puck, which is something I can buy. I played a little goalie in my life, and who knows what those fans. I've never played in a stadium full of fans, but who knows what kind of distractions that could cause.
So if that's the case, who are you buying then? Bennington again? Who are you buying to have a good run here?
Yeah, Bennington, they have a great team, a big team. Colorado's been playing absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone's going to stop Colorado. Tampa Bay's looked good. Boston's kind of started slow. I like Philly as a bit of an underdog pick. I think they have a really good team, a couple key veterans, and a superstar young goalie in Carter Hart. I think they got some potential there.
Yeah, but not today, though. You like the Caps?
Yeah, well, that's the main reason why I like the Caps is because Carter Hart is on the bench. They're starting Brian Elliott. I have no idea why, and I think that is a massive advantage for Washington. Braden Holtby has the best save percentage all time in playoff hockey, so I'm going to side with Washington here, who lost in overtime to Tampa in their first game, but they played pretty solid. I was impressed with Philly in their 4-1 win over Boston, but I don't know. Boston wasn't playing well. Tuukka Rask wasn't in net, so I'm going to go with Washington here to get their first win of the round robin.
Yeah, the round robin makes me nervous. I like leaning in on the series that matter because I get it. Like This is all ramping up, but like everything's on the line for them. I'm not sure what's happening with this round robin stuff. Like John Carlson would have played in the Tampa Bay game if it were not that it didn't really ultimately matter for them. So I'm not sure how teams are approaching this, and that's what concerns me about the round robin.
Yeah, who really knows how much they value falling 1 through 4, right? Are they looking at a matchup? Are they just trying to get in form? Are they trying to get in shape? I agree with you. I'm definitely targeting series more. I think that's a more competitive style of hockey, but I still like the goaltending advantage, Braden Holtby over Brian Elliott in this one.
Yeah. As for Toronto-Columbus, that series was tied at 1.
Yep.
Columbus, of all the teams, they're the one I'm watching a little bit here. There is nobody. Yep. If they had made the playoffs as the season was progressing, they weren't going to last very long with all the injuries they've had. No one has benefited more from the time off than them getting star players back. So I think they're dangerous. And defensively, they're outstanding. Forecheck's outstanding.
Yep.
What do you make of Columbus?
And they're defensively coached outstanding. Tortorella is one of the best playoff coaches in hockey. He knows exactly what it takes to get it done. He knows how to shut down high-scoring teams. I mean, we saw it last year. One of the best hockey teams in the history of the game got swept 4-0 by their team. Tortorella, he knows how to frustrate those offensive teams, and he's been one of the teams that I always target in unders. Even if I'm getting a 5, I'm going to go under. Toronto could blow open any game, but I don't know. I just think Tortorella knows exactly what he's doing. He knows how to frustrate the big guys, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner. They don't like getting hit. They like regular season hockey. They want to be on the power play. And Tortorella is making this a real tough time for them.
All right, so you're going trend continues here. You like the under today, Columbus and Toronto.
And it's a big game 3, right? In the shortened series, tied 1-1. This is going to be a massive game. I like the first period under. I think it could start slow. I just expect nothing different with Tortorella hockey. I know he's not going to open it up. He knows his team can't keep up with Toronto. The only way they can win is a 2-1 game, 2-0, 3-1, something like that.
Yeah.
Stays under the total, 5.5.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right, last thing for you before I let you go. UFC Vegas, what do you got this weekend?
I just think this is a trap line between Omari Akhmedov and Chris Weidman. I've been fading Chris Weidman since he beat Anderson Silva. I don't like anything about Chris Weidman's career. Looking back at some of his wins, he beat a 37-year-old Anderson Silva twice. He beat a 36-year-old Lyoto Machida. He beat a 38-year-old Vitor Belfort. The youngest fighter he beat was Kevin Gastelum, which he had an 8-inch reach advantage. Kevin Gastelum is not a big middleweight. And on the other hand, Omari Akhmedov, he hasn't lost since 2016. He's just not that well known. And I think the bookies are kind of trapping people into giving Weidman like at a pick'em here. They say, oh, Weidman, he beat Anderson Silva, the best fighter of all time. Hell yeah, I'll take him at a pick'em. But I think these fighters are on two different trajectories. Weidman could be done. He could retire if he loses this one. He's lost 5 of his last 6 fights by stoppage. I don't see why Chris Weidman is a favorite. I don't want any part of him as a favorite. It opened as a pick'em. Weidman's been bet down to 138, so I'm going to see if Omari Akhmadov rises any more over plus 110, but I'm going to be siding with Omari here.
So this is the class that the public knows his name, and that's why the line looks the way it does.
Yeah, in my opinion.
Yeah. It appears that way. Cam, thanks so much. Cam McCann, you can read him at OddsUSA.com. We'll catch up with you next week. Thanks.
Thanks for having me on, Bram.
Up next, let's go line shopping with Travis Pulver as we eye a college football season that may or may not happen. This is the OddsUSA Betting Podcast.
Enjoying the podcast and feel like taking advantage of our experts' advice? Or maybe you think you know better and want to fade everything you just heard. Whatever your pleasure, place all your bets with OddsUSA.com. That's right, at OddsUSA.com, we have everything your sports betting heart desires. From game odds covering the spread, over-unders, and money lines, to futures betting as well as prop bets and best bets. OddsUSA.com is your one-stop shop for placing all your sports bets this season. When it comes to legal online sports betting, OddsUSA.com has you covered. Head on over to our website right now and find the best way to make the most money. You can do that by easily comparing which sportsbook is best for your bet. Then, just click on the action button and put your money where your mouth is. The best bets and deals take only a minute to complete, so head on over right now to OddsUSA.com and take advantage of all our offers today. That's OddsUSA.com and get started today. And happy betting.
Let's welcome in Travis Pulver from OddsUSA.com. Hey, Travis, how are you?
Doing fine. Thanks, man. How you doing?
Well, I'm hoping for a football season. I think you are too. So,
I hear you, man.
Look, the Big Ten put their schedule out, and it's odd. There's Michigan, Ohio State in the middle of October. So we're in weird times.
It's gonna be a weird one.
Yeah, it's gonna be a weird one. But at least they're putting their best foot forward here to try to make it happen.
That's true. That is true. I'll take some football over no football. So even if it means our best games are not going to be at the end of the season, so what?
So I wanted to have you on to go line shopping, but this is hard. I mean, the games aren't really settled yet. So how are you kind of approaching looking at opportunity with the college football season?
Well, you really can't look at any games just yet. 'Cause, with the schedule, we really don't know what they're going to be. Some of the conferences do have them out, but I think the odds makers are kind of doing their homework now and kind of figuring things out. So you really only you look at it as a national championship and the Heisman.
So
I think that's really about it.
Yeah, that is really about it. All right, let's talk about the Heisman. And I guess we don't know if any major players are going to not participate, regardless if they move forward or not. I saw Justin Fields going to play. I saw that. So what do you make of the Heisman thus far?
Heisman can be a tough one because, you always have guys like Lamar Jackson just kind of came out of nowhere. The guy preseason was like plus 10,000 odds and goes on to win. So, yeah, anybody that was lucky enough to put a penny down on him did really good. Same last year with Joe Burrow. His odds are pretty high, and he ends up being phenomenal and wins. So, you want to look at the guys where you can win money off of, but you want to win, period, too. So if you're just thinking that, you got to think, well, then you got to be thinking Trevor Lawrence. You got to be thinking Justin Fields. Those guys are the runaway favorites. So it's kind of up to the bettor. Do you want to go for the sure thing or what you think is a sure thing, or do you want to go for the massive payday?
Yeah. If you were to lean one way or the other with Fields or Lawrence, which way would you go right now?
That's a tough one. A lot of times I think Clemson can be overrated, but then they keep winning. So, they must not be overrated.
Yeah.
And I'm not a huge Trevor Lawrence fan because I think he's got such a good team around him that he hasn't had to be a phenomenal guy. But this year might be a little bit different. He still has Travis Etienne, if I'm pronouncing that right, I hope. But we don't really know about his receivers, and we don't know about his offensive line. So this could really be the year where we're going to see whether or not he is as great as people have been saying he is since day one. Fields, on the other hand, he's got he's got a better supporting cast, coming out of the gate. So if I were to choose one, I would probably go with Fields.
Yeah. But to your point, whether you think Clemson's overrated or not, clearly their conference is inferior. And so they are just going to win. And I mean, I guess we should assume nothing with the pandemic, but all things being equal, they're going to have a great record again, right? I mean, so doesn't that help?
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, their only real contestant this year is going to be Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. I mean, if they could go, was it 10-1? I mean, would be the worst case scenario for them probably.
It looks like it. I mean, and that's what it was. It was weak last year. It's looking like it's going to be weak again this year, all things being equal. So we'll see how it plays out. So, I mean, I don't know. There's a part of me that goes, Lawrence gets so much publicity that helps him too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and it hurts him at the same time, though, because since everybody knows his name and knows he's supposed to be this phenomenal guy, they expect great things. And if you look at a lot of our winners, in recent days, recent years, they're not the guys that we expect great things from. They're the guys that surprise us.
So, is there a name? Is there a Burrow out there for you this year that you see, or you think, or you're kind of eyeing and looking at, going, that guy could have a big season?
Yeah, I am a little curious to see what Mac Jones can do. I mean, he's going to be a name that we're going to be a little more familiar with, but that's just because he plays for Alabama. I mean, I think he filled in admirably. He looks like he has potential, but now we don't know if he's got, NFL quality wide receivers with him or not. So, I mean, he's kind of up in the air. I am real curious to see how Chuba Hubbard does with Oklahoma State. I mean, you got the guy who was a beast. They're going to give him the ball a ton. He's going to have the opportunity to make the yards, but will Oklahoma State win? That's kind of the big thing. If they don't win, he's going to be out of the running in a heartbeat. But right now, you can get him I think I saw him plus 5,000. I think at FanDuel.
Huh.
I mean, who doesn't want that?
Yeah. Well, and he had to make nice with his coach. They had that little brush up earlier in the offseason, so they made nice. So they seem to be heading back in the right direction. But I agree with you. Winning probably matters, but his numbers could be just off the charts. So if that's what ends up happening,
I mean, they were last year, but he wasn't even in the conversation.
Right. All right, so let's get into the national championship a little bit here. Again, this is so in flux. I mean, yeah, the Big Ten put their schedule out. Some of the other conferences haven't even put a schedule out yet of when they're going to even start playing. At this point, who are you buying into?
As a Texas A&M fan, I hate to even say this out loud, but I think Alabama. Of course, I'm thinking if I'm going to look to bet on something, I want to make some money off of it. I mean, of course, you look at Clemson, and Ohio State are the two favorites, but I mean, the odds aren't. Your payout's not going to be huge of them. Like most of their odds are around 250 for Clemson. And Ohio State, I think the highest I saw was 320. I mean, Alabama, though, you would think as much as they've won in recent years that their odds would be pretty good too. But I mean, I think a couple places had them at plus 500. I think I saw a plus 600. And for the Crimson Tide, I think that's insane.
I mean, they've been in every playoff. Yeah, they've been in every playoff but one. I mean, so who wouldn't take that?
Starting them so far back just seems crazy to me.
Yeah.
I would love to talk to somebody who makes these odds almost just to see why they're putting them so far back. I mean, my only guess could be that they think so much of Clemson and Ohio State that, Alabama's just going to be the third. But, I mean, that's Crimson Tide fans, take advantage of that while you can, because as soon as the season starts and as soon as they blow out, Georgia and a couple other good teams, I mean, those odds are going to plummet.
Yeah. What about Big 12? Do you see anybody out of there that you think might be a factor?
Well, as a native Texan, I watch the Big 12 religiously. I mean, they're one of my favorite, conferences to watch. I mean, I grew up watching those guys, so it's just kind of in my blood. But I can't get behind Texas. Part of me would like to, just because I'm from there, but I don't know. It's just like those guys don't know how to win. They don't know how to handle success. Oklahoma is again really the best bet.
Yeah,
and that's assuming that Spencer Rattler is as great as everybody says he is. And that, I think and that Lincoln Riley is too. I mean, we really haven't seen him have to do a great coaching job yet. I mean, he's always had phenomenal quarterbacks on his roster guys that we know are going to be great. I mean, we don't know that about Rattler yet.
And it sounds like you love Alabama. There's no reason not to. Is there anyone else in the SEC right now that you're looking at and saying that they could, if it's not going to be Alabama, it's going to be them?
Oh boy. Well, I guess I kind of have to say this, otherwise I might not be allowed back in the state. Texas A&M is worth looking at. I mean, Jimbo Fisher is a great coach. They have a lot of veteran leadership on the team. The defense will be good. I think the offense will be at least okay, and that's kind of where I kind of waffle on them a little bit. I am not a Kellen Mond fan. I can't get behind him as a major D1 quarterback. I think the best the guy's going to top out, he might get a job in the XFL next year with The Rock, and that's about it. I mean, he's just not – he doesn't have that clutch factor. Yeah, he pulled it off with LSU a couple years ago. Other than that, he doesn't win the big games.
No.
But the odds are good. I mean, you can get him around plus 4,000 at a few different books. I mean, that's a pretty nice payday to me.
So your money for the end of the year at this point, assuming we have a season, Justin Fields ends up getting the Heisman. Alabama wins a national championship.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's where the smart money goes.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, Travis, we'll read you on OddsUSA.com. Thanks so much.
Hey, thank you. Have a good day.
Up next, Chelsea was a train wreck before the Champions League. We'll see what they've got left in them next with Fasika Zelealem with his thoughts on the second leg of the Champions League matches.
Backed by one of the biggest online gambling companies in the world, OddsUSA.com is your one-stop shop when placing a bet this season. In partnership with the best sports books across the U.S., including DraftKings, FanDuel, and many, many others, with OddsUSA.com, you are sure to find the best deal before placing your next bet. Head on over to OddsUSA.com right now and find the bet that works best for you. Whether you want to bet the spread, an over-under, or the money line, OddsUSA.com has you covered with all the latest deals and promotions from across the online sports betting industry. Find the deal that's best for you and place your bet right now. Or read previews and betting tips from our team of experts and then put your money where your mouth is. Whatever your pleasure, go to OddsUSA.com right now and get started today. That's OddsUSA.com, ODDSUSA.com, and place your bets now. Good luck.
All right, let's welcome Fasika Zelealem from OddsUSA.com. Hey, Fasika, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Bram. Thanks. How are you?
We had Cam McCann on earlier. He's going off on Chris Weidman, hates him this weekend, hates him for his career, hates everything about him this weekend. It's fading him hard. How are you seeing UFC?
I mean, it's been brilliant what Dana White's been able to do throughout the pandemic, putting on, events almost every single week and, major events as well. So it's getting better and better. It's bringing in more fans because, most of sports has been basically suspended during the pandemic. So I think it's been great for the UFC, even though they haven't had any fans. But I think this pandemic's actually, raised the profile of the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've done a fantastic job. The NBA's done a good job with it as well. The NHL's done a good job with Major League Baseball. We'll see. But as for the fight this weekend with Chris Weidman, are you fading him hard too?
It's a difficult one for him because, he's 1-5 in his last 6. People have said, it's kind of time for him to probably, retire. He's been knocked out a few times in his last fight, in his last losses as well. And, he's still got the name Chris Weidman. Still, people are still going to tune in, former champion and all that. But whether he actually, gets the win, it's a difficult one for me. I can't, to be honest.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into some of the Champions League games that are going on overseas. And let's start with Man City, who's had a crazy week with the Ferran Torres stuff, and they're fighting a potential ban from the league and all that stuff. Yet they won their first leg against Real Madrid. So what do you see here?
It's going to be a great game. That's what I know. And it's going to be a tough one for Man City because in Europe, they haven't been successful. So, and coming up against a Real Madrid team, who've won the league, who are, European giants, have won the most Champions Leagues ever, it's going to be a tough one for City, with Aguero potentially out of the game with injury. I see Real Madrid going through. I think it will be a tough game, maybe one goal in it. But I think Madrid go through, and City they have another failure in the Champions League.
Okay. How about Chelsea and Bayern Munich? What do you see there?
Yeah, that's a dead rubber game. Bayern Munich, they demolished Chelsea 3-0 in the first leg. It wasn't competitive. But yeah, for that game, Chelsea, I don't think they can go through. I mean, you can never say never in sports, but for this particular game, I think you're safe to say that Bayern Munich are going through to the quarterfinals.
I mean, they steamrolled them in the first leg. And
Yeah.
I mean, frankly, before all the pandemic stuff, I mean, Chelsea was awful, like leading into what ended up being the break anyway. They have not been able to bounce back. I don't know what happened to them, honestly, this year.
Yeah, I mean, they had such a great start to the season, the first, great, 2-3 months. But then, they started to get a lot of losses. And they're not a team that draws many games. They're a team that either wins or loses. And they lost, quite a few games coming up to the Christmas break and before the pandemic. But, they did improve, coming into the restart. They did lose a couple of games, but they did manage to get their goal of Champions League football. And albeit they did lose the FA Cup final, I mean, it's still I think it's a good year for Chelsea getting Champions League with Frank Lampard first year in charge. Even though they did lose the final, I think it's been a decent year for them. And signing Timo Werner and Hakim Ziyech and potential incomings, I think they've got a bright future, Chelsea.
As for this match, though, with Bayern Munich up 3-0 heading into the second leg, I think they handle this. And how do you bet on this? I mean, I'm assuming they're going through, but I mean, what are we looking at here in terms of like what an outcome may be?
I don't think it's going to be another steamrolling like the first leg. I think Chelsea, they have a bit of pride. They have fight. They're a decent team, Chelsea. So I think they're going to be up for it, knowing that they really have nothing to lose after the first leg. So I think they might score a couple of goals. I think Bayern Munich will ultimately win the game.
Yeah.
But I don't think it will be like it was in the first leg. It will be a lot more competitive.
Yeah, that's what I think as well. All right. How about Atalanta and PSG? What do you see there?
I think that's probably the most interesting, intriguing game in the Champions League around the 16 quarterfinals, because Atalanta they just score a bunch of goals. They score so many goals. They've scored 7 goals around 3 times this season in Serie A. They've already confirmed their place in the Champions League, and PSG, like Man City, have failed in the Champions League. They're a great team in their domestic league. Of course, they won the French league yet again. But with Mbappe's out, Kylian Mbappe, probably their best player alongside with Neymar, he's out with injury. Marco Verratti, their midfield maestro, he's out with injury as well. It's going to be a difficult one for PSG, and they have all the talent in the world, but they've had the talent in the past and they've still failed. So I see this one as a draw, to be honest.
Oh, Atalanta is prolific. I mean, you'd mentioned the goal scoring. They're 22 goals better. I mean, it's all pre-pandemic and everything. They were 22 goals better than Juventus, who was at the top of the table of Serie A. I mean, they are ridiculous, the amount of goals that they can score, and they can explode.
Yeah, it's incredible knowing, all the talent that Juventus has in attack. Cristiano Ronaldo, Paulo Dybala, Gonzalo Higuain, and with Atalanta, whose players, may not be as known to the football world. Josip Ilicic, Luis Muriel, Duvan Zapata, they've scored almost close to 20 goals each this season. They're just remarkable. I mean, I don't know anybody who saw this coming from Atalanta.
Yeah. But
this is their first time in the Champions League quarterfinals in their history. So it's going to be like them. They've really got nothing to lose. I mean, it's already been a successful season for them, just getting to the quarterfinals. So they'll be thinking, why can't we get to the semifinals?
Who are you buying in the Champions League right now? Who are you backing right now in terms of making a deep run in it?
I initially backed Manchester City, but I do have to go for Real Madrid. The way they finished the season in Spain, winning the league, which is something they don't win much in Spain. Barcelona have won the majority of them in recent years, but I think the way they play under Zidane, the leaders that they have in Karim Benzema and Sergio Ramos, and just the sheer experience they have there. I mean, they're the most experienced team in the Champions League. I think they get their they get their hands on the trophy again.
All right, we'll keep our eyes on it. Fasika Zelealem, thank you so much. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you.
Let's get back to the PGA for a minute here, and everyone is off Tony Finau this week. It's recency bias, though. He finished 65th at the recent WGC event, but at a track with a 250-yard par 3, yes, that's true, and a 600-yard par 5, being long is really going to matter. His previous 2 tournaments prior to the FedEx St. Jude, top 10s, 8th at the Memorial, 3rd at the 3M Open. And you're getting 50-1 on him. Tony Finau, that's where I'm taking my shot. And that'll do it for episode 1. We'll be back on Monday. Remember, get everything you need to make the right moves at OddsUSA.com. This is the OddsUSA.com betting podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein.